She woke early in the morning. It was a beautiful, beautiful spring morning. Very early spring. She thought, I'll just have a wash. She left her lover, the minstrel, sleeping, and went out through her beautiful rose garden, up the high rocks, up into the Acropolis. And there she washed herself with water at the well. But all of a sudden, she heard a rustling behind her. She turned, and there, coming towards her, with his eyes full of love and lust, was the bee-herd, stretching out, and she ran. She ran blind, ran fast, not looking where she was going. She ran out of life and out of love, over the end of the cliff, and died. Her lover, the minstrel, mourned for her. For 12 long days he mourned his wife, playing the songs on his holy lyre, the songs that God had taught him, songs he had told could defy death itself. And at the end of that, as he scattered her ashes to the wind and said goodbye, he thought to himself, why God? Why not end it? But as he thought that, the sun caught the strings of his lyre, and he thought of his God. And he thought, I won't abandon hope yet. I'll go and see what my God says. And he went to his God's great oracle, the oracle of Delphi. And as he came through the door, the priest was possessed and said, why have you come? Why are you not now going down to the underworld? Why are you not taking the holy lyre I gave you? I, Apollo. Why are you not going through the underworld? And the minstrel, he replied, I do not know the way. And God, he said, what do you mean? Go south to the rocks hard by, where the myrtle bushes grow. There you will find a cave. When the spring equinox sun catches that cave as it rises, on the 21st of March, follow the beam of light down, down, down. And if you would have my advice, do not trust the words of my cousin, Persephone, known as the Lady Core, for she is the queen of the dead. And the minstrel went, taking his lyre, and found the caves with the myrtle bushes growing, and waited, for the equinox was near at hand. And on the morning of the equinox, as the sun rose, he followed the beam of light, down through a little crack in the cave wall, down deep chasms, down beyond light, beyond the knowledge or memory of man, down beyond time itself. Until at long last, it seemed to him, the cave opened out, and he was in some shadow kingdom, and the shadows rose up and assailed him. And he played with numb fingers tunes upon his lyre, tunes the God had taught him, tunes to defy death. And the shadows subsided. And he went there through death's kingdom, all the way until he came to a great and wide river. And over the river he saw, still lit by the single beam of light as he was, stepping stones. And he leapt across them and came to a rock wall. And in the wall was a gate. And in the gate was such a creature he'd wished he'd never seen. A great dog, it seemed, with 3 heads. One head spitting fire, one poison, and one fury. But just at that moment, the beam of light hit it full in the face. And the minstrel's tunes grew louder. And the great dog, Cerberus, slumped to the ground. Gingerly, he stepped over it, went through the wall, across a wide courtyard, until he came on the other side to a mighty portico. And in the portico there was a silver bell. And as he stood and watched, he saw the beam of light he had been following strike the bell. And the bell rang out across death's kingdom. A sad sound, it seemed. And then he heard something in reply. Step, 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 on the cold stone, the steps and footprints of a giant, a titan, or a god. And all of a sudden, she was there in front of him, a great black shadow with a sad face as if lit by moonlight. The goddess Kor herself, Lady of the Dead. And she said, "Why have you come, O minstrel?" And he replied, "I have come to win my beloved back, any which way I can." Said the Lady Kor, "Why do you think we should give her back to you? She is even now one of my ladies of waiting." And she advanced on the minstrel. But just at the moment, the silver bell pealed louder yet. Strange to say, Kor took a step back and said, "No. On no other day would I have listened to you but this. On this day of the equinox, when I must leave my palace, my beloved husband, the children I love, leave all those who I hold dear, and go back up to the kingdom of light and serve my mother for 6 months, that she might make summer once more. On this day, your grief touches my grief. Your grief in parting is mine. And I will hearken to your prayer on one condition." And he said, "Name it." And she said, "I ask you a question, Orpheus. Can you trust death? For I will follow you up into the kingdom of light, following you all the while, and I will bring your Eurydice back in my trail. All the way we will follow, and you will have her once more, if you do not look back until you hear Cerberus howl for the 3rd time." And Orpheus said, "I'll do what you say, but how can I find my way out again?" And she said, "Be guided by the smell of myrtle. Now turn." And he turned. And all of a sudden, the portico was full of a very strong smell of bruised myrtle. And yet mingled with that smell was another that made Orpheus's heart beat fast. It was a smell of rose and olive, the smell of his Eurydice. And he went out through the courtyard. And you know, it was very strange, because every time he turned his head out of the true direction, the smell fainted slightly. He went then through till he came to the rock wall, and there was the 3-headed dog Cerberus, spitting fire, fury, and poison, coming towards him. But the smell of myrtle grew overpowering, and Cerberus slunk to the ground. And again Orpheus stepped over him, and went through the kingdom of the dead, until he came to the rock. Well, it went into the kingdom of the dead, leaping over the stepping stones. And as he leapt across and landed on the other side, he heard a howl of fury, the howl of Cerberus, cheated. And it took all his courage not to look behind, but he managed it. And he went through Death's kingdom, up into the rock wall where the cave started once more. And all the while the myrtle and rose was behind him, smelling beautiful. And he crossed over at last into the caves. And as he crossed over, he heard, howl! The second great howl. But this was a howl of utter misery. The howl of a hound who has lost his mistress and his playmate. And it made Orpheus's heart bleed within him. But he carried on. He carried up through the caves, and you know it was strange. For as he went on, the smell of myrtle grew fainter, and the smell of rose and olive stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And as it grew stronger, he desired to see his beloved wife once more. And the desire grew and grew and grew, and the time seemed to stretch, and it seemed to go on forever. Would he never be out, he wondered? At last the light started to return. At last he was back in the cave he went from, and now he could bear it no longer. He wanted